All right, I'm going to do a quick overview of the carb conversion from an ITEC to a Weber or stock Isuzu carburetor. First thing you're going to want to do is get the ITEC and get rid of it. Just get it off the motor. You can watch my video on how to remove that thing. And then what you're going to be left with, or what you're going to want to get your hands on, is a 2.3 intake off of like a pickup truck or an 86, 87 Trooper, or maybe an Amigo. I guess some of those maybe have been carbureted. You're gonna need a thermostat, housing gasket, and an intake manifold gasket. You know, maybe even a used old Felpro or something like that'll work if you just, you know, put a little silicone or something on it. I'd recommend getting a new thermostat gasket, maybe a new thermostat, maybe new radiator hoses. If you're looking for radiator hoses, the upper and lower are the same. This one's kind of wonky. But when you go to the upper, when you go from ITEC to carb, you're going to need a longer, you can't use your existing upper radiator hose. It's going to be too short. So you're going to need to go to one of these. Either a Dayco 70986 or a 21171. And also, just FYI, upper and lower radiator hoses call for the same part number on the 4Z series. So then you're going to want to get Weber. I prefer the 3236. The 3838 works as well, but it's going to come with an adapter plate. And then I'm going to recommend blocking off some of the stuff like the EGR ports, and I use that. Use plates in a factory gaskets in a plate. You can either use like a steel plate here. Somebody cut a steel plate, or you know, a new gasket with an aluminum plate. Same thing with the bottom side of the EGR, just an aluminum plate or something. Or you can get some of this, you know, and cut it up. These come in handy for blocking off the, you know, where your EGR stuff comes out of the exhaust here. You know, you can cut these off and weld them up or plug them up. Either way, you can plug this one here if you want to, or just cap it like I showed you right there. Just take that thing off completely and cap it with that thing. It's your factory fuel pump, which I like to use if you can. If you're running a 2.6 head that doesn't have the sleeve for the pusher shaft, you can use an electric fuel pump mounted back by the tank. If you're using the stock carb, you're going to want to get this air cleaner gasket right here, new. And regardless of what carburetor you're using, you're going to want to get preferably a new PCV hose instead of this thing. You're going to want to get a brand new PCV hose that's got the right shape and everything to it. All right, so it's pretty basic. You pull these out here, and you're going to use some hardware like this right here, and these studs like this to mount an adapter plate down to this. What that's going to do is that's going to allow, you know, these holes right here, you see, will line up here, and this plate will go there. And then when you mount this here, it's going to adapt, you know, those holes down to those holes. And you'll need the stock base gasket, which is an 8094 if you're using Interface Solutions, or you can cross that number. Also, I guess I'm going to throw it out there, if you're going to be using, which I haven't gone over yet, but if this is done in the future, I guess, and you're going to be using the 2.6 ITEC intake, you're going to want to get a set of the new gaskets like this, and those are, looks like Interface 809. Oh yeah, 8094 kit will come with these for the carburetor and those for the fuel injection. That's right. Or sometimes you can get these right here that are the OEM design. If you're going to be using this, you're gonna need to plug these holes here, which, you know, you can use copper plugs like this. Oh, also, yeah, these copper plugs, you can just get them at Home Depot. They're like regular pipe plugs, or then those style right there. I use those for capping all the holes that we're not going to use. Anything that's ugly and obnoxious, like I'll pull that sensor out right there and put a plug in it like that. Okay, so basically, yeah, you're going to mount this to your head. You're going to use the adapter plate to mount to here, to the carb. Air cleaner is pretty self-explanatory. Electrical is so simple. I'm going to go over this stuff real quick. Vacuum advanced distributor. Okay. Comes right off here. And right off here. Okay. So you come right off of here, right into that port right there, right back here, and it goes right up to your distributor right here. Okay, electrical system is too simple. All right, the distributor comes off and goes to the coil. The coil goes to your distributor cap. This is the original plug that plugs into the early style stuff. All you do is, okay, this is the ITEC electrical system. This is how simple this electrical system is. Coil, igniter, and this is where it plugs into the loom on the car. Okay, so if this is coming off your car and this is what goes to your ITEC, all you have to do is have this plug right here instead of this plug right here. Okay, so you take this plug, this is going to be on your car, on your fuel injected 4-cylinder car, and you're going to need one of these to replace this. Now, coincidentally, there's one of those on your fuel pump hanger, and there's one of those on your igniter. So you got two right offhand, or you can go to the junkyard and pull them off, because these are pretty common Isuzu plugs. Also, if you can't dig up an old style coil, you can hypothetically use your old coil wire, and your old coil, and also every coil, like all these coils just have 2 plugs, so it's all pretty standard, pretty basic. It's like the newer style coil or the old style coil. You either use this plug off of the factory stuff that came with the distributor, or like I said, you splice this stuff in. So splice that piece in there so it'll plug into your car. All right, old style coil, all the distributor cap and wires and stuff works the same. If we're going to talk about fuel stuff, the fuel system has this little spacer that mounts the fuel pump to the manifold. You got the new style fuel pumps. These are aftermarket. They got little dimples in the bottom, they're aftermarket. This dampener setup right here is just kind of a factory get up that was supposed to make the fuel flow nice and smooth. So you've got fuel delivery in from the tank, you've got a vent here, and you got fuel, or return, I think this is return back to the tank. So you got fuel delivery in, return back to the tank, and then fuel up to the carb. And then on the factory setup, they send the fuel up through this metal thing and bolts to the manifold and everything, and I hate it, so I just get rid of it. I come right off here, I come right off the outlet and go straight up to the inlet on the carburetor. Maybe run it through a little filter or something like that. That's it. It's so basic. If you're going to use this manifold, you use those gaskets, and then you're going to have to build some sort of an adapter plate or something out of tube steel. I'm in the process of working on one of those. Stock carburetor. Oh, and then throttle linkage. So you see how the throttle linkage works on the stock carb, right? Comes right off of your gas pedal, goes right up to here, bell crank like this. That's how it works. Okay, so you pull this off. This comes with your Weber. It mounts right there. When you go to put your Weber on, it mounts like this. And that holds the throttle cable. cable mounts on this bracket. Kind of like that. And then you take this cable here, and it hooks into this little thingy right here like that. That cable goes in there like a little bicycle, little bike brake cable kind of thing. Oh, if you want to run air conditioning, you got to mount this thing up here to your manifold, and it kicks the little stepper. Yeah, so it works like this. You see this little thing right here? This is what kicks up your AC. You take this thing and you mount it in here, and you plug it in, and when you turn the AC on, this little solenoid kicks out right here, and it steps up your AC. So honestly, when I do these Weber carbs, I like taking this off and running this setup. I just put this on here, the bell crank right off of the Weber, so that you can get your AC and everything, or your bell crank off of the original factory carb. And this step this up right here. If you're running this stock carburetor, there's a trick here too, because this thing has a fuel shut-off valve, so you have to get power to it. Which one is it? It's this one right here. This thing right here, you either have to get power to this thing, or what I like to do is just pull it out and take the turn the spring around, put it behind the other side of the needle, so that it's just always open, so your fuel is always open. This is just a vent right here, leave that. And there's your vacuum advance for your factory setup. If you're running the factory carb, you get your vacuum advance off right there, and it runs into this port, like I said, and it comes right out here, right over here to your distributor. All right. That's really it. Carbs conversion is truly that easy, and then you just fire it right up. All right, I'm going to be doing this on a truck here in the next few days, so I'll be updating it, but in real time. But that's the gist of a carb conversion. That's how it's done. It's really simple.